Imagine it's the year 2000. The world is ending. At least, the financial world is. The dot-com bubble has just burst. Trillions of dollars, the life savings of millions, are evaporating into a digital void. People are jumping from windows. The greatest minds on Wall Street are staring at their screens in total, paralyzed horror. But if you walk down 53rd Street in Manhattan, past the Panic, and go up to the 19th floor of the Lipstick Building, you hear something else. Silence. No screaming, no phones ringing off the hook, just the calm, rhythmic hum of an air conditioner and the steady click-clack of a single printer. On that printer is a statement for a billionaire investor. While the rest of the world just lost 30% of their wealth in a single week, this statement shows a gain. Not a huge gain, not a suspicious gain. Just 1%. Like it does every month, like it has done every month for 15 years. While the world burned, one man had supposedly built a fortress that the laws of economics couldn't touch. His name was Bernie Madoff, and for 20 years, he didn't just manage money, he managed a ghost. This isn't a story about a bank robbery. This is a story about the most successful psychological kidnapping in human history. Because Bernie Madoff didn't steal $65 billion. People begged him to take it. We have a villain problem. We think we can spot a predator because they look like one. We expect the shark to have teeth. We expect the scammer to be a fast-talking hustler in a cheap suit. But the most dangerous man in New York didn't look like a shark. He looked like your father. Bernie Madoff was the chairman of the NASDAQ. He was a pioneer of electronic trading. He was the man who literally helped build the pipes through which the world's money flows. When he spoke, it wasn't with the fire of a salesman, it was with the weary, calm authority of a doctor giving you a checkup. He didn't want your money, or at least, he acted like he didn't. And that is the first hook of the dark psychology he used. The weaponization of the mundane. Bernie understood that greed is loud, but trust is quiet. He didn't promise to make you a billionaire overnight. He promised you something much more addictive: certainty. In a world that is chaotic, unpredictable, and terrifying, Bernie Madoff offered a world that never changed. He was the only man on Earth who could promise that tomorrow would look exactly like today. And that promise is a drug. Once you start taking it, you will do anything to keep the high going. You will ignore the red flags, you will ignore the math, you will ignore your own soul. How do you hide a $65 billion hole in the ground? You cover it with complexity. Bernie told everyone he used a split-strike conversion strategy. He'd use fancy terms: buying blue-chip equities, selling out of the money calls, buying put options. To the average person, and even to many wealthy investors, it sounded like magic. But it was safe magic. It was the kind of jargon that makes you feel smart just for listening to it, even if you don't understand a word of it. But here is where the suspension tightens. On the 17th floor of his building, 2 floors below his legitimate brokerage, was the shadow office. This wasn't a high-tech hub. It was a room full of people who didn't even have email. They used old computers. They hand-typed fake trade confirmations. Every night while Bernie was at gala dinners with celebrities, his team was backdating trades. They would look at what the stock market did yesterday, and then they would type up a fake document saying they'd bought the stock at the lowest price and sold it at the highest. It was a time machine. Bernie wasn't predicting the future, he was rewriting the past. But why didn't anyone notice? Because the checks never bounced. For 20 years, if you wanted your money, Bernie sent it to you. That is the ultimate psychological trap. Performance is the enemy of inquiry. As long as the money is coming in, nobody asks where it's coming from. This wasn't just a fraud, it was a social infection. Bernie used the most powerful force in human nature, the need to belong. He focused on affinity fraud. He targeted his own community. He went to the country clubs in Palm Beach. He went to the boardrooms of Jewish charities. He built a circle of trust so tight that to question Bernie Madoff was to insult the entire community. He used a psychological tactic called exclusivity manipulation. There are stories of wealthy men coming to Bernie, begging him to take their $10 million, and Bernie would look at them, sigh and say, "I don't know. We're pretty full. I'll have to see if I can make room for you." In that moment, the investor isn't thinking about risk. They are thinking about status. They want to be one of the chosen ones. He made the most cynical, hardened investors on Wall Street feel like children who had been invited to sit at the adult table. And once you feel chosen, your brain shuts down its defenses. You aren't an investor anymore. You're a fan. You're a follower. You're a member of a cult where the god is a silver-haired man with a steady 10% return. But there was one man who wasn't in the cult. Harry Markopolos, a math geek, a guy who looked at the world in numbers, not stories. In the early 2000s, Harry tried to model Bernie's strategy on a computer. He ran the numbers, he ran them again. He stayed up all night, drinking coffee, staring at the screen. He realized something that should have ended the story right then. The math was impossible. To make the trades Bernie claimed to be making, there wouldn't have been enough options on the entire Chicago Board Options Exchange. Bernie was claiming to trade more than existed in the world. Harry went to the SEC. He gave them a report titled, "The World's Largest Hedge Fund is a Fraud." He told them exactly how it worked. He told them where the bodies were buried, and the SEC did nothing. This is the darkest part of the psychology. The lie was too big to see. The regulators looked at Bernie Madoff, the chairman, the legend, the philanthropist, and they looked at Harry Markopolos, the crazy whistleblower, and they chose the comfortable lie over the terrifying truth. Sometimes we are so afraid of the chaos that would follow the truth that we collectively decide to keep the illusion alive. The end didn't come because of the law, it came because of the truth of the world. 2008, the Great Recession. The global economy is shivering. The billionaires who thought they were safe suddenly need their cash. They all go to the lipstick building at the same time. They want $7 billion. Bernie sits in his office. The printer is silent. The time machine has run out of gas. There is no money. There was never any money. On December 10th, he goes home to his wife, Ruth. He tells his sons the truth. He doesn't look like the chairman of NASDAQ. He looks like a ghost. "It's all just one big lie," he whispers. The next morning, the FBI knocks on the door. The 20-year dream is over. The $65 billion illusion evaporates, and the world wakes up to a nightmare. Bernie Madoff died in a prison hospital in 2021, alone. But the $65 billion isn't the real tragedy. The tragedy is the thousands of people who lost their faith in everything. The charities that vanished. The families, including Madoff's own sons, that were destroyed by the weight of the deception. We look at this story and we want to believe we are different. We want to believe we are too smart to be fooled. But Bernie Madoff's true genius wasn't in finance. It was in knowing that every human being has a blind spot created by the desire for safety. We don't get scammed because we are greedy. We get scammed because we want to believe that in a world of storms, someone has finally found the lighthouse. The next time you hear a promise that sounds too stable to be true, remember the silence of the 19th floor. This has been Shadow Stories. Keep your eyes open.